Let's go. Welcome back inside fighting to another weekly episode of Insider Betting. This is the show where we give you guys our best picks, our best predictions for whichever UFC event is coming up on the weekend. This weekend, we have UFC Noche, headlined by Diego Lopes and Gene Silva. Fighting nerds coming off of two losses, co-main and main event of last week in Paris. So hopefully this is the rebound for the fighting nerds. I'm loving the card. I said last week's card, it might not live up to any hype because it's not the most notable of names, similar to this week's card, but last week was card of the year potentially. So I'm not going to go into this card with any low expectations. I'm expecting a banger, the Mexicans to represent, a lot of pride, and a lot of banger fights on this card. I'm hoping for fireworks. How do you feel about this card?
Yeah, I mean, the card as a whole is kind of shit. But then you got Diego Lopes taking on Gene Silva, which should be a banger. I think that'll be a super fun fight. I really like Gene Silva. Obviously, I've said it before. He's probably my favorite fighter in the UFC right now, just in terms of hype. He's fun to watch. He's got a great personality, and he's entertaining. A little bit of cancellations on this card, though. You had co-main event is now Rob Font versus David Martinez. That was supposed to be Rob Jr. David Martinez was always supposed to be on the main card, but he was supposed to fight Quang Lee, which probably would have been a more fun fight than the guy who replaced him, which is going to be the first fight we break down. But Santiago Luna, who's making his UFC debut, and he's only got 6 professional fights.
Yeah.
In MMA. So yeah, a few cancellations, which kind of ruined this card, but I think like UFC Noche is supposed to be a night to put on Mexican fighters, and I just think it's a bad time to be a Mexican fighter in the UFC. There's no really prominent names from Mexico that are going off right now, so it's just a bad time to have UFC Noche, really.
Yeah, I agree, and it's not even in Mexico. They changed this card a long time ago. It was supposed to be in Mexico, and then they had the Mexico fight card happen, and a lot of fighters were complaining about it, getting sick in Mexico, so they didn't want to go back, and now they're doing the Mexican Independence Day in San Antonio, Texas, I believe, or where even is it?
Yeah, it's in Texas, but bro, it being in Texas might as well be in Mexico. There's massive Mexican population out there.
That's true.
So there's going to be a big show up for Mexican fighters for sure, I think.
Yeah, if anywhere, have it there. I get that.
Yeah.
Any fights in the prelims that you like? I like Sadiq Dumas fighting
Zachary Reese. I was just looking at that.
That's a fun one. And Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos should be fireworks too. Hopefully fireworks. I mean, Tatiana Suarez would probably just sit on her for 15 minutes, but
yeah, I agree with that. Might be a boring one. There's also Dusko Todorovic taking on Jose Medina, which should be a bit of a banger. Obviously Dusko's had a bunch of losses recently, but he's the type of fighter to either knock someone out or get knocked out. I'm just looking at Jose Medina right now, and it looks like he's built the same way, coming off of a knockout here. So should be a banger. I mean, like Mexican fighters, even though there's no big Mexican names right now, with like, I think Mexicans would not be happy with me saying this, but Diego Lopes is the biggest Mexican fighter, even though he's not Mexican. He just trains in Mexico. He speaks Spanish. He loves, I think he lives in Mexico and everything. So he loves it there. But he's the biggest name for Mexico right now in that sense. But Mexicans are just fun to watch, dude. They're tough as nails, a lot of knockouts, ton of power, and they stand and bang. You're not going to see a lot of Mexicans go to the ground, and that's the fun part of MMA. So should make for a fun card at least.
Totally, bro. I agree. You want to get into the main card here?
Let's go. Yeah, let's go into the main card right away. Nothing worth breaking down in the prelims, as per usual, when it comes to when it comes to these fight nights. But opening up the main card, this is probably the worst picture of Santiago Luna I could have used. But I was looking online, and I saw other pictures of him that were better, but they were all in graphics. So I couldn't find a picture of him that I could just like crop and use for this. So anyway, Santiago Luna is taking on Quang Lee. He was called in, like I mentioned, on a 2-week notice to make his UFC debut. Quang Lee was supposed to fight David Martinez originally, but Martinez got moved to the co-main event to take on Rob Font because Raul Rosas Jr. pulled out due to a rib injury. But Santiago Luna, he's got a 100% finish rate in his 6 fights as a pro. He's got 2 knockouts, 4 submissions. And then you got Quang Lee, who also isn't super experienced in the UFC. He's only had 3 fights there, where he suffered 2 losses, one by knockout and another by decision. And then most recently, he picked up a win against Gaston Bolaños by rear naked choke. We don't have too much data on Santiago Luna because it's his debut, but like based on his record, you can see that he's comfortable on his feet, but he's also very comfortable on the ground with his 4 submissions there, right? Where Quang Lee, on the other hand, he does have a couple KOs outside of the UFC. So he does have some power, but in the UFC, we haven't seen him knock anyone out. But you can see just based on his stats that he's not the type of fighter who's going to be out there stand and bang. He gets hit more than he lands. He's going to take you to the ground, and he's going to fight you there. And his record does show that. I think, what is it? He's got same type of record, 2 knockouts, 4 submissions, and then he's got 3 decisions in there as well. So I think we'll see this fight be a pretty big mix of stand-up and grappling, but overall, I think this fight's going to be on the ground a lot based on these guys' records. And honestly, I don't really know who to pick here. I think it's a 50-50 toss-up. Like if Quang Lee was like 3-0 in the UFC instead of 1-2, maybe I would understand why he's the favorite. But Santiago Luna, he's obviously very young. Like making a UFC debut at 21 is pretty nuts. Not a lot of people do that. And I think that he's going to come in. I think he's going to show his toughness. I think he's going to show his power. And because he has the grappling side of him too, I think he's just going to be really well-rounded. And I think he's going to get the underdog win here, which again, I don't like picking people in the UFC debut. It's the last thing I want to do. Last week I made that mistake, and then the debutants won in the end, or at least the one, because one of the debuts got canceled with Kaida. But I think Luna's going to get a debut win here against Quang Lee. I'm not too hot on him at all.
Yeah, coming from the LFA, which is a notable promotion outside of the UFC. It's not big in their names and personalities, but it is notable for like rising in the MMA scene, which Santiago Luna has done. Quang Lee came into the UFC, lost 2 bouts, and is coming off of a 2nd round rear naked choke in his last fight, which I guess Vegas is giving him the odds here, saying, oh, maybe he could get his back. Maybe this is a grappling one. Maybe he could find the choke. We've seen Quang Lee. We could see that he's a tough guy that has good wrestling and is going to be in the fight. Santiago Luna's got a good fight in front of him here. I don't think this one has any implications of like, oh, these guys, if they get a big knockout or anything, they're going to get a ranked opponent next. This is strictly just like, hey, Quang Lee, if you don't win this one, you're kind of on the borderline of getting cut. And Luna, here's an opportunity to put yourself into the UFC and make a name for yourself here. But bantamweight, I like these kind of fights. I think it's going to be standing and banging. I think they're going to try and shoot some takedowns. I don't think they're going to land. I think they're both pretty good at their takedown defense. So, as you said, I don't feel good about taking the underdog debutee, but that's probably where I'm going to be headed if I was putting money on this one. Give Luna a shot. Quang Lee hasn't done anything too impressive in his time in the UFC, and not hard to break down this one. Give a shot to the new guy. That's how I'm viewing it.
I agree with you. Next up, we got a fight of the losers. We have Kelvin Gastelum taking on Dustin Stoltzfus. So I'm just rearranging my screen here so I can see my notes and you at the same time. I like it that way. Both of these guys
from Austin, Texas. Appreciate you, bro.
Let's go. He said he's from Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Nice. Both of these guys only have 2 wins in their last 5, and they're alternating wins and losses, both coming off of losses. Kelvin Gastelum, he's been in the UFC for a long time. We all know he's extremely talented. We also know that he doesn't tend to give a fuck. He's got elite wrestling. He's got an insane chin. Even though he's got 10 losses on his records, he's never been knocked out as a pro before. And he always seems to beat the guys he's supposed to beat, and then he loses to the tougher opponents. He's lost to Joe Pyford, Sean Brady, Jared Cannonier, and he beat D-Rod and Chris Curtis in his last 5. When it comes to Dustin Stoltzfus, he's a bit of an interesting fighter because I don't know why, but I've always been super high on him. Like I think he's when you see him fight, he looks good, but then he just doesn't win. So he's weird, but he's really well-rounded, and I think it's a really good matchup with Kelvin Gastelum here. I don't think Kelvin Gastelum has the advantage when it comes to anything against Dustin Stoltzfus, and I don't necessarily think Dustin Stoltzfus has a massive advantage against Kelvin Gastelum. Like I think this fight is a toss-up. Like I think it's 50-50, and I'm just kind of shocked that Kelvin Gastelum is a 2-1 favorite here. I don't know where that comes from. But he's got a ton of power in his hands for Dustin Stoltzfus, and his takedown game is also underrated. He's got 7 takedowns in his last 4 fights. And I think Dustin, he's more relentless than Kelvin. I think he cares more than Kelvin. And although Kelvin's a good wrestler, when it comes to offensively, he doesn't really shoot too much. I think he only has he averages a takedown per fight, but when you look at his last 4 fights, he only has 1 fight where he got takedowns, and he got 4 takedowns against D-Rod. Sean Brady took him down 5 times. Joe Pyford took him down once. So although he can hang on the ground, offensively, he's not pushing too hard for it. So I'm just leaning towards Dustin. I think we're going to get another underdog win here. Nothing Kelvin's done recently has impressed me by any means. And I don't love the pick because I can see Kelvin winning. But if I have to pick someone, gun to my head, I'm going with Dustin. I just think he's the tougher fighter. And I actually think he cares. I genuinely don't think Kelvin cares about the UFC anymore. I think he's just trying to get a bag.
Yeah, that's a fucking fair take, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not as hot on Dustin Stoltzfus as you. I've always been. I've always kind of went against you in these kind of picks. I think I'm going to go against you again here. I kind of understand the odds. I mean, Dustin Stoltzfus, he's big in the first round. He's probably going to shoot a takedown. It's probably going to land. He's probably going to edge out that first round. But Kevin Gastelum, he's going to have that kind of experience and knowledge to win the second and third round, not get taken down, to make the adjustments and win. I could also see him winning by a crazy upset knockout against Dustin Stoltzfus, who's just continuing to get into his range, continuing to walk into Kevin Gastelum. And he's fought from his back foot most of his career. I think he's going to either spark Dustin early, or he's going to just edge this one out in a split decision. I like Kevin Gastelum. I think he's the better fighter. I don't know how Dustin wins this one. If you're saying maybe he wins by knockout, big knockout, but besides that, I see Kevin Gastelum having the edge in the decision, and him having the edge on the ground, and him having just an edge really everywhere this fight goes. So I don't want to count out Dustin as like it's impossible for him to win this fight because he has the size. He's knocked out Marc-Andre Barrio, who's really good, who I'm a real big fan of. He has power in his hands. He is big, like you mentioned. He does look good in the octagon when he fights, but somehow, as you also mentioned, he loses fights. And I don't know. I think Kevin Gastelum's the kind of fighter who could find holes in his game. He has he's really well coached, and I believe in Kevin Gastelum. I understand the odds here, and I'd probably take him in my parlay and feel good about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think my only thing with Dustin is that like he just loses in weird ways. Like he doesn't deserve to lose every fight he loses. And I think that Kelvin Gastelum is gonna have to finish him to get the win here because like when you look at his past fights, Dustin Stoltzfus lost a unanimous decision to Nursultan Roziboev.
Yeah.
Where he got outstruck, but he still had 2 takedowns against Roziboev, and he had 2 submission attempts. And he was only outstruck 21-35. Like it wasn't like crazy numbers for a 3-round fight.
Yeah.
Against Bruno Ferreira, he got a spinning back elbow knockout. So that just kind of happens sometimes, you know. So he had to get knocked out to lose that one. Abus Magomedov knocked him out in 19 seconds. So that wasn't even a fight. Gerald Mearshart ended up getting an RNC on him. Even though Dustin was putting up better numbers that fight. He had 12 to 11 strikes, and he had 4 takedowns to Gerald Mearshardt's only 1 takedown. So I think if this fight goes to decision, I would lean towards Dustin Stoltzfus just because I think he does more when he fights, but he just gets finished, and that's how he loses a lot of the time.
Gaslam, I mean, has a lot of those similar stories back in his career too. If you're looking strictly at their last fight, like you pick the Ruzi Boa fight with Dustin and the Joe Pyfer fight with Kevin Gaslam, it's pretty similar. Like Kevin Gaslam was in that fight with Joe Pyfer. He only got outstruck by like 15 or somewhat strikes. Like he was in that fight with Pyfer just as much as Dustin was in that fight with Ruzi Boev, but they both lost. I think Pyfer's a little step up than Ruzi Boev at the moment. And I think Kevin Gaslam's a little step up than Dustin at the moment. So that's where I think the number makes sense. And that's why I think I'm going to be picking Kevin Gaslam.
Yeah, no, that's fair game. That's fair game. Like, obviously, like Kelvin Gaslam, it's hard to look at him because he had such a big gap in his career, you know? Like he had a 2-year layoff between his fight against Cannonier and then his fight against Chris Curtis.
Yeah.
He had a 1-year layoff between D-Rod and Joe Pyfer. Between Pyfer and Sean Brady, he also had like a 7-8 month layoff there. And yeah, he just seems like the fights he loses, he seems to just like be not dominated, but there's like a clear advantage. Like even like the Joe Pyfer fight, like he wasn't able to do anything on the ground in that fight. He didn't take him down, didn't do anything. You know, when you look at Ruzi Boev and Dustin, at least Dustin did have the advantage on the ground. He was just outstruck in that fight, you know? So yeah, it's weird. We'll see what happens. This fight means absolutely nothing though. Like neither of these guys are going to be for title contention. Even if one of these guys wins, neither of them are going to be fighting a top 15 guy. I don't think. Like maybe it just lines out that way, but it's not like they deserve it after a win against each other, you know?
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't be mad if the odds were a little closer, like a 2-1 underdog makes you kind of want to bet Dustin here in this situation.
Yeah.
But
yeah, if it was 50-50, I might have ended up leaning towards Calvin.
Yeah.
You see the value.
Yeah, I could see how you could see some value in Dustin here, but
Yeah.
I just think Kelvin's ready to shut somebody up, especially after doing this whole Hall of Fame thing with Israel Adesanya. That wasn't too long ago. They got Match of the Year. I think he's dialed in more than ever right now, or at least he should be, because this is kind of the climax of his, not climax, but this is he's reaching another peak in his career where if he doesn't get a win here,
yeah, you're talking
what's next for Kelvin Gaslam? Another unranked opponent. Like if you're not in title contention and you're only getting older, you've already had the fights of your career, it's probably time to hang it up. So if he does get knocked out here in the first, maybe we see like a Paul Craig retirement kind of scenario, but I just don't see that happening too early, I think.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Feature fight, we have Rafa Garcia taking on Jared Gordon. Both of these guys are really solid all around. You can see it by their stats, but aren't necessarily elite in any category. They've just, like, Jared Gordon's been around a while. You can see he's 37 years old. Rafa Garcia looks like he's 45 years old, to be honest. But at the same time, looks like he's like 25, you know, like he's got that weird, he's got a weird face. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Like he looks like he can be young, but at the same time, he looks like he can be super old.
Yes.
Yeah. But both of these guys prefer to exchange on the feet, and then they'll shoot a takedown here and there. When you look at their recent records, neither of them have overly impressive wins. But in their losses, you can see that they both got mauled by Grant Dawson on the ground. For Rafa Garcia in his last fight against Drakkar Klose, he got hit twice as much as he landed. And then for Jared Gordon, his losses are a lot closer. I hate how I'm going off of like not the fighters themselves for these breakdowns and based on their recent losses, but I think it does say a lot of the time. But he lost a very split decision to Nasrat Haqparast, where the strikes were 146 to 141, you know? And then you look at Rafa Garcia. He actually also fought Nasrat, but I think it was his UFC debut against Nasrat. So this was a long time ago. But Nasrat just dominated him on the feet. It was 99 to 52 on the feet. And then you look at Jared Gordon with Paddy Pimblett. where some people thought Jared Gordon might have won that fight. I'm not saying that, but when you look at the stats, the striking was very close. And Jared Gordon had 3 takedowns on top of that against Patty to Patty's 0. So again, I don't really care for this fight. I think it's absolutely meaningless. They just try to get another Mexican fighter on the card for this fight, which is cool. But I think Jared Gordon gets the win, and I think there's strong potential for a Jared Gordon knockout as well. So I don't want to hype it up too much, but Rafa Garcia got knocked out against Grant Dawson. And if Grant Dawson knocks you out, I think Jared Gordon can do it as well.
Yeah, I'm high on Jared Gordon here. Like,
yeah.
Rafa's not going to bring anything new to the table for Jared, where Jared's going to have a highlight performance that's going to put him into the title contention. Not title contention, top 15.
Top 15.
Yeah. Into the rankings. My bad, guys. But I do think he gets on the mic after a big knockout win here and calls out somebody in the rankings. I know he's trying to hunt down that Patty Pimblett rematch. I know he probably wants that rematch against Grant Dawson as well. And I mean, he's damn near close enough to get it if he gets a big win over Rafa Garcia here. Like, Rafa Garcia is not going to be the truck that stops Jared Gordon from getting into the rankings here. I think the odds could even be wider. I like Jared Gordon here a lot. Probably taken by knockout. Rafa Garcia hasn't done any. He hasn't had any big wins. He's been around in the UFC, but he's just kind of, his wins aren't impressive, and he's not going to do anything to like have an impressive win here. If he wins a split decision and Jared Gordon loses, it's like, oh well, shitty performance by Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon just has to have one of his good nights, and he's coming off some momentum in his last fight. I think he carries that into this one. He is the better fighter. He should put on a performance here.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm gonna root for. I'm gonna ride with Jared Gordon. I think he's should be one of the more favored fighters on this card. I don't even think he's big enough as a big enough favorite. I think he should be bigger.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is the only fight so far where we're like widen the gap.
Yeah, they should widen this one.
Yeah. Next up, we got Rob Font taking on David Martinez. And like I mentioned at the beginning, this fight wasn't supposed to be a fight. David Martinez was supposed to open up the main card against Quang Lee. Rob Font was supposed to fight Raul Rosas Jr. And you know how I know it's going to be a bad weekend for UFC in terms of my picks? It's because I got too many underdog picks, bro. Yeah. This is very much a vet versus prospect fight. David Martinez is a strong fighter or a strong striker, but he's going up against one of the best strikers in the division in Rob Font. David Martinez, he's a lot younger than Rob Font. He's going to be a lot faster. He's a very clean striker, and I think he can definitely cause some trouble. And Rob Font, he's very technical, but he's just old, man. He's going to be too slow for a guy like David Martinez, I think. And I hate picking the rookies, like I said, or like the up and coming guys, because like David Martinez, he's only 1-0 in the UFC. Like he's only had the one fight, but in his 12 wins, he's got 10 knockouts. So he clearly, when it comes to striking, he's elite. But I think what we're going to see is like, yes, Rob Font has the experience, but because he's old and slow, we're going to see David Martinez going to come in fast. He's going to keep the distance in certain scenarios. He's going to throw in the leg kicks. He's going to throw him up, down low, up high. He's going to put some damage on Rob Font's arms. His hands are going to get tired of blocking shots because so much is coming in from David Martinez, and then it's just going to make him even slower. So I just think like David Martinez, as long as he doesn't gas out, which like is very likely for these like young up and coming guys where they just gas and they can't keep up for the rest of the fight. So as long as he doesn't gas out, I genuinely think he should win. But if it gets to the second, third round and he's slowing down, like Rob Font's going to be all over him and he's going to get the win. But I'm going to say David Martinez prepared for this fight and that he's not going to gas. So I'm going to give him the win here. And I got another underdog there.
And then I'm going to say I think Rob Font trained too hard for this fight. He trains up in Montreal, surprisingly, with Fares Zahabi.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I actually met Robbie Lawler in the high limits room after Power Slap in Vegas. And the question I asked him, because I saw Rob Font fight in UFC Seattle, and I saw Robbie Lawler in his corner. I know he has great coaches. I said, what do you guys think of Rob Font? Like one of these guys who he doesn't have a huge name, but he's been around and he keeps climbing in the rankings. He might shoot down a few spots, but he's always sticking around. And he says he's great. Like, this is one of the better fighters that he trains with and stuff. So, and coaches. So I believe in Rob Font. I used to not like Rob Font because Sean O'Malley and just like that whole situation when Sean O'Malley was coming up and Rob Font was there as one of the contenders, and he got to climb past Rob Font. But Rob Font's always going to be that guy that you got to climb past. And David Martinez kind of gets his opportunity here to put himself into the top 10 after only fighting 2 fights in the UFC. I believe 1 on Contender Series and 1 in the UFC, right? So a big opportunity for him here. I just think Rob Font is too tough, man. He showed me a lot of toughness in his last fight against Gene Masamoto, I believe. And man is a unit. I like him. Like you said, he has some of the best striking, although it's a little slower than probably David Martinez. He does have great striking. I think he's going to be able to wear his punches, put on more combos, edge out the rounds, use his experience here to edge out a split decision win. David Martinez probably will rock him, probably will have the crowd on their feet in a moment of the first round. But Rob Font's weathered that storm before. He's going to weather that storm here. I believe in him. It's kind of like I'm not going to let's say this is like Ayman Zahabi versus Jose Aldo. Everyone counted out Zahabi against Aldo because of Aldo's striking, because of this, because of that. David Martinez is kind of getting that same hype. Oh, he's better at striking. He's going to be the guy. I think Rob Font is going to be able to win a split decision. Maybe he loses that first round, but I think his coaching, his experience, he's 38 years old, guys. He's been in this game for a long time. I'm confident putting my money with Rob Font. David Martinez is good. He's going to be good. He's going to be in the UFC for a while, except he's going to have to fight a guy probably closer to the 15th ranked of the rankings. Rob Font is just too good. This is Rob Font's time. If there's any time for him to go on a little title shot run, it's now. And he needs this win over David Martinez, so I'm edging Rob Font to win this one.
Yeah. No,
sorry.
No, we're split on almost every fight. I agree with everything you said. And again, like, I'm picking these dogs, but like I see why they're the favorite, and I see how they win. But I think we'll have a couple upsets. I think there's a lot of potential for them. One fight.
Hey, nobody saw BSD versus Fluffy. Not Fluffy. Nobody saw BSD versus Ruffy last weekend, so you could have some sharp plays here.
100%. But
the big one.
This is the big one where
the moment everyone's chat, quit spamming. It's the main event. We know. Relax. It's hype.
This is gonna be a fun fight, bro. This is gonna be so good. In Gene Silva's last fight, main event, we got Diego Lopes taking on Gene Silva. I gotta give them the intro they deserve. In Gene Silva's last fight, and honestly, every fight in the UFC that he's had so far, we've just seen him dominate his opponents. And I don't think anyone expected him to dominate Bryce Mitchell the way he did. I know both of us didn't. We both picked Gene Silva to win, but we knew it was going to, we thought it was going to be a tough fight against Bryce Mitchell. We thought, you know what, Gene, we haven't really seen him on the ground. He's a big striker. He gets a lot of knockouts. Will he continue the streak? What's going to happen? And then he made Bryce tap. And yeah, it's interesting how he was able to, for a guy that stylistically should have been able to dominate him in certain aspects, just did not get any of that. But the ground don't really matter for this fight because Diego Lopes is not going to go to the ground either. This is going to be a stand and bang fight. And I think it's going to be super fun to watch. With Diego Lopes in his last fight, we saw him take a beating by Volk. He really didn't look like he had any chance of winning. It's not like he got rocked. It's not like it was like he got absolutely dominated. It was just Volk put on a show. It was classic Volk. He had 158 strikes to 63. He also had a takedown in there against Diego Lopes. And I think we're going to see a very similar fight. Volk and Gene Silva. I'm not putting Gene Silva in the same category as Volk, but at the same time, when you look at the style and you look at their size, to two smaller guys, confident on their feet, taking on a taller, lengthier striker. And Volk might be more well-rounded than Gene Silva. He actually definitely is more well-rounded. But again, you don't have to be more well-rounded for this fight. I think if it comes to stand and bang, Gene Silva wins. I just think there's like a very high KO potential here for Gene Silva to knock out Diego Lopes. I'm just not that high on Diego. Like he got the title shot against Volk, but like, bro, his wins before that are Brian Ortega, Dan Ige, Sadiq Youssef, Pat Sabatini. Like, who did he fight? Like he got all this hype out of nowhere, you know? And I'm not saying that Gene Silva deserves necessarily all the hype he's gotten. Like he hasn't fought any really massive names. He's only 5-0 in the UFC. His 5 wins are against Bryce Mitchell, Melsick, Bagdasarian, Drew Dober, Charles Jourdain, Weston Wilson. Like not a lot of big names there, you know. But he's just put on performances to remember, which like Diego Lopes didn't, in my opinion. Like he went to decision with Brian Ortega. He went to decision with Danny Ige. And then he had the 2 knockouts before that. But then you got Gene Silva, who he's got 100%, not 100% finish rate, 100% finish rate in the UFC. His only decision fight was on Contender Series against Kevin Vallejos, who's like the fucking identical carbon copy of what Gene Silva is, just younger and still making his way up, right? But he's knocked out everyone except for Bryce Mitchell. And in the fight against Bryce, it looked like he could have done whatever the fuck he wanted to Bryce. Like he could have knocked him out. And I think he just subbed him for fun, like to embarrass Bryce. So yeah, I got Gene Silva. Like I really don't see a way for Diego Lopes to win. I think Gene is better all around in every single aspect of his fighting game.
Man, I love the Gene Silva glaze. I love Gene Silva. I think he's probably my favorite fighter right now. I gotta give him his love, give him his flowers, because he is so entertaining to watch. He's given us performance after performance, finish after finish. He's entertaining on the mic. He's entertaining to the crowd. He's marketable. You've seen him in the build-up to this fight get emotional, seeing his face on the poster. He cried seeing his face on the poster, and he's coming into his own now. But I hate to say this, but we've seen this script, guys, before with the Fighting Nerds, 10th ranked against number 2. We've seen this with Carlos Prates against Ian Gary, 7th ranked against number 2. We've seen this with Kyle Bahile, 7th ranked against number 2. And it almost is too big of a leap. They're putting these Fighting Nerds on a pedestal to say, hey, you've had these performances getting into the rankings. Let's give you a shot at a number 1 contender. When really you should probably have 1 or 2 more fights before this opportunity. Gene Silva's getting it. He's the face of the card here. He's probably the A side, like he's the favorite, you know. So everything's leaning Gene Silva, but we've seen this script before, and I don't want to be the guy who says hammer Diego Lopes plus 195, but it's burning inside of me, bro. I really think the script is already been written here. It's a 25-minute fight. Diego Lopes has fought that before. He fought that not only just in his last fight, but against one of the greatest featherweights of all time in Alexander Volkanovski. And now he gets Gene Silva, another main event spot, another 25-minute, kind of a chance to redeem himself. And it's kind of a clone of Alex Volkanovski, if you think about it, because he's not going to go shoot any takedowns. He's kind of a similar build. He's shorter reach. It's like the shots that Alex Volkanovski landed against Diego Lopes, they hurt him. They hurt him. And that makes me think Gene Silva can knock out Diego Lopes in 25 minutes. But the shots that Diego was landing also were hurting Volkanovski, who's one of the toughest featherweights in the whole division. Yes, he's older. Yes, he got chinned a bit in his other last 2 fights, but I do think Volk is one tough son of a gun. Oh, man, this one's tough, man. But I think the plus 195 on somebody who just fought for the title, 25-minute fight, Gene Silva's first 25-minute fight, his 2 Fighting Nerd brothers lost last weekend. He has a lot mentally going on probably that he kind of doesn't have. If you look at his other fights, they're against nobodies. They're against Bryce Mitchell, who he had fun with. Like, he's not really dealing with anything mentally in this one. Diego Lopes thinks this guy hates him. There's like some bad blood a little bit. Diego Lopes he's more experienced. He's kind of like the cool, calmer, collective guy, which usually is Gene Silva for me. I think Diego Lopes is the smart pick here. I love Gene Silva. It hurts my heart to say that, picking against your favorite fighter. But with the plus money, the experience, just having fought for the title, I'm leaning Diego Lopes here, money line. I think he probably wins a decision, bro. I don't think he's going to knock out Gene Silva. I think it's going to be back and forth. I could see Gene Silva having a big round or two, but I think Diego Lopes wins with pressure, wins with output, and just outstrikes him. It's crazy to say.
I see what you're saying with the fighting nerds last week, but my only defense to that is we all picked Ruffy not because he's like so much better than BSD. We picked Ruffy because we've seen BSD get beat. And so we weren't picking Ruffy because he's the better fighter. We just were picking Ruffy because we didn't think BSD has shown his capabilities in these big fights, which he very much showed against Ruffy. With Kai Barrio, we said the exact same thing. We said that like I picked Kaio because I like him last week. But like when I looked at the records, I was like, man, Imavov has been these big guys. Like he should have been the pick last week, 100%. Like the fights that he's fought have just been against bigger names than Kaio. Kaio was on a streak, but Imavov had fought big names and like he was the smart pick. With Diego Lopes, the only guy he's beaten like I have no clue why he's number 2 ranked. The only guy he's beaten in the top 10 is Brian Ortega. And how is Brian Ortega in the top 10 even? Right?
True.
So yes, he has the experience against Volk, but like when you look at the rest of his fights, he doesn't have any like high level experience, I don't think. Like I really think that like I think Diego Lopes got to the number 2 rank because of hype. And I think he got the title fight because it just kind of lined up. He didn't deserve it. You know, like Evloev deserves it over him. Yair Rodriguez probably deserves it over him now. You know, like there's a lot of guys. Lerone Murphy, he's more boring than Diego Lopes, but he's been beating more guys than Diego Lopes, you know? So I don't know. If Diego Lopes had been these big names, I'd be all over him. But Pat Sabatini, Sadiq Youssef, Danny Ige, Brian Ortega, Gavin Tucker, like there's not a single super quality guy.
You know how I mentioned the poster thing? He got all emotional about being the main event.
Yeah.
Diego Lopes already had that against the champion, featherweight champion, and then fought him 25 minutes, war. This is Gene Silva's first time in a moment like this. Diego Lopes didn't he fight in the Sphere against Brian Ortega? He's had these bigger moments though in his UFC career where Gene Silva has fought on prelims of fight nights, and now he's getting the main event kind of treatment here. I think it's a big step up for him, where 100%. Diego Lopes has already had that step up in his career against harder competition and proven that he could hang. I don't understand the odds being this widespread for Gene Silva. I think Diego Lopes should be the favorite. Then I'd be more inclined to take Gene Silva here, but him in this spot as this big of an underdog, I don't get it. So I'm going to be hitting Diego Lopes and just I do think he wins a close decision.
Well, the only fight we aligned on is that Santiago Luna. We're both on him, even though we don't know who he is.
Quang Lee.
We're split on. So we'll see. One of us is going to be a big loser this weekend. The other one's going to be a big winner.
We should what do we want to place like a little bet for the next show?
A little bet for the next show? Yeah, we can do that.
Like whoever's picks hit more on this show, something on the next show.
Yeah, what would it be?
What would it be?
We'll figure something out for next
week.
We'll place a little bet.
Whoever has the worst picks on the next show has to have their hat off.
Whoever loses this week, hat off next show. Hey, we could be split. If we're split on the last 4 fights and Santiago Luna wins, it'd be even. It'd be even. So we'll see. But
that's funny.
Yeah, hat off next show. Let's do it.
All right, yeah. Whoever has the better picks. All right, that's funny.
Do it. Oh yeah.
I need to win, man. I need to win.
Yeah. I go hat off more than you, so you gotta.
Yeah. I need to win.
Bigger L for you.
It would be an L.
next week, there's no fights, unfortunately, but the week after, we have Carlos Albert taking on Dom Reyes. So that should be a fun fight. That's going to be in Perth, Australia. A couple other fights on there. Again, like the Mexicans, Australia, besides Volk, don't really got anyone going for him at the moment. You got Junior Tafa versus Ivo Aslan as the co-main event. Jack Jenkins versus Ramon Tavares as the feature fight. Jimmy Crude versus Ivan Erslan. Jake Matthews versus Neil Magny making a comeback. Tom Nolan, Evan Elder. Yeah, just not really
and I know
fun.
this isn't the Geography channel or anything like that, but I heard like there's no cities close to Perth. Like it's just Perth, and then like the closest city near Perth is like way on the other side of Australia. So like,
yeah, Australia's kind of like Canada, where there's like no big, like it's such a big country, but like it's like everyone's so spread out. I think there's only like 2 or 3 big cities in Australia.
Diego by submission. Ooh.
Andre Luis.
I don't know about that.
Gene Silva got a submission last fight.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that Bryce Mitchell fight was he impressed me in every fight, but that Bryce Mitchell fight,
I'm telling you, that Bryce Mitchell fight put him on the next level.
Submitted him. Nuts.
Yeah. And I don't know why we're so high on Bryce Mitchell. Like why we give him, not that we're high on him, but why we give him so much credit. But I guess like he had a streak to open up his UFC career, but he's been alternating wins and losses since his streak. Like he's only
his grappling is really that good. Like he just fought Nurmagomedov a division down and won, but he really just hugged him to win that fight with control time. But his grappling is that good to compete with like the Nurmagomedovs. So like he is good in that aspect, but when he comes to striking, if it's against anybody good, look at what Josh Emmett did to him. Gene Silva was piecing him up. He's not great on the feet. Said Nurmagomedov was piecing him up on the feet until he resorted to his wrestling game plan. So Bryce Mitchell's not the best fighter, but his wrestling and it's good. Yeah. So it's carried him throughout his career. I've never been a Bryce Mitchell guy.
No, fuck Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah. Where's Arc Asylum podcast number 2? Like, wasn't that supposed to, like, whatever happened to that podcast? I think I shut him off from doing that after I met him. He doesn't want to do it anymore after meeting me.
That's funny. We'll probably do an episode next week, guys, breaking down what we think the end of 2025 who'll be the champion by the end of the year, what we can see for 2026. Do one of those episodes. But as always, it's been a pleasure. Yeah. And we go live every single Thursday, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we'll see y'all next week. And Cody's going to go live this Saturday.
And Insider Picks with Mike Owens is live on Inside Fighting, so go check that out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Peace, guys.
All right.